Hi everyone! Today we're going to talk about the famous wordless tablet in Chinese history. To begin with, we're going to introduce you Wu Zetian, who is the owner of the wordless tablet, and her contribution in full to the country in Tang Dynasty. Secondly, a description of the wordless tablet and some background information will be shown. Finally, there will be some views and statements provided by different groups of people. Before we start, let us imagine, if now you have to write yourself an epitaph, what would you write? Or would you write anything at all? Interestingly, there have been someone who chose not to write anything on her monument stone. Why did she do so? How should we interpret it when it's wordless? And most importantly, who is she?
She was Wu Zetian, and Wu Zetian was the first and also the only female emperor throughout Chinese history, and she was born in the Tang Dynasty. As Wu Zetian was extremely gorgeous, she was taken to be an imperial concubine of Emperor Taizong at the age of 14, and her dramatic life began. After Emperor Taizong's death, his son Li Zhi inherited the throne. According to the rule at the time, Wu Zetian was forced to stay in a temple to be a Buddhist nun. However, after Li Zhi's visit to the temple, Li Zhi fell in love with her and decided to make her his concubine. Li Zhi taught her politics and granted her power to help rule the country, but unfortunately, Li Zhi died at a young age and Wu Zetian took over his throne as she already possessed the political insight to rule the country.
During Wu Zetian's reign, she optimized the educational system. Moreover, she selected the talents regardless of their social classes. She also facilitated agricultural development in the country, which boosted economic development. This helped to transition the country to the peak economy in the later times. However, Wu Zetian was ruthless during her reign. She would execute any ministers who did not obey her. As a result, Tang Dynasty started to lose in the national wars. She lived in an extravagant life in her later stage of life. She used up the national treasury to build palaces and hold rituals. This caused negative impacts on the whole country, and she became a bad influence for other women who wished to participate in politics. Wu Zetian's political achievements as an emperor were not as good as when she was a queen. Because of her legendary lifetime, Wu Zetian's experience has been made into plenty of TV series, and some of them were incredibly pervasive among Chinese audiences. However, in order to become an emperor, what she did and how she finally achieved have always been a much disputed subject. After the introduction of Wu Zetian herself, let's take a closer look at the wordless tablet.
The wordless tablet is 8.03 meters high. You can see on the right-hand side of the slide, almost 3 times the height of a normal dignitary's monument stone, which is only 3 meters. This shows that Wu Zetian had a high social status at that time. According to the rules of setting up monument stones for dignitaries in Tang Dynasty, the monument stones must have a dragon head and a turtle pedestal, or having a rectangular pyramid head and a cubic pedestal. However, the wordless tablet has a dragon head and a cubic pedestal. This shows that Wu Zetian's particularity of being the first and only female emperor in Chinese history.
At the head of the monument stone, there was a sculpture of a group of 8 Chinese dragons, 4 on each side. Meanwhile, 2 symmetrical dragons were carved on the side of the monument stone. Chinese dragon, as a kind of imagined creature, was also a symbol of emperors and his power. The appearance of an emperor is called Long Yan. The body of an emperor is called Long Ti. In contrast, the representation of a queen was a Chinese phoenix. Wu Zetian had been a queen. She should be using phoenix instead of dragons. However, the 8 dragons on the head and the 2 on the side of the monument stone states the superior power of Wu Zetian as an emperor.
Regarding with different interpretation of the tablet, we'll focus on 2 different voices. One is a media commander or historian Hong Daliang. The other is a singer, Jane Zhang. The song by Jane Zhang is called Wordless Tablet. According to the lyrics below, we notice that it was written from the emperor's perspective, describing stone's presence in the thing-deciding tone.
Apart from the song, historical documentaries by media commenters and modern historians like Hong Daliang, as shown in the picture, have always tried to judge Wu Zetian in both positive and negative sides. For example, he mentioned that she was the one who opened the Pandora box of the toxic relationship between family and this, in his opinion, was the biggest mistake in her life. However, it was also evident that she optimized the education system and simulated the economic growth. So compared to the song, modern historians try to be analytical and critical in their language to describe her achievements and wrongdoings. Our group has spotted the differences in language used in the two selected sources. Having a more subjective approach, the language intonation of the song is more feeling-based and sympathizing. It has a focus on her miserable yet glorious life from a servant to an emperor, and her romance life. Whereas the documentary is more facts-based, it takes on a more objective approach and has a more evaluative language intonation. We figured that the reason for the different languages used is to appeal to different audiences. The song is more appealing and entertaining to the public, while the documentaries are more appealing to the historians and academics who like to write about the history.
So, why is the stone wordless? Over the time, the stone has been interpreted by different groups of people, and so far we have landed on 5 different explanations that are accepted by different social groups. And the first 3 are commonly accepted by the public since its discovery. First, she was the one and only female emperor recorded in Chinese history, and she deemed her great achievements as indescribable using words. This is a way to boast about her self-regarded greatness. Second, during her years in power, she led a corrupted and unethical life, and the country was at a state of extreme social unrest, and she lost 4 towns to the enemy country. Deeply in remorse, she knew that her sins ran deep, and decided not to write anything on her monument stone. Third, her will was to leave space for future generations to judge her life achievement. And these statements I aforementioned are viewed from Wu Zetian's perspective, which is more subjective.
The last 2 are neutral move and what is my identity. They were commonly accepted by the modern historians or academics. The views are objective and gathered by observing facts. The first explanation is the opposing party felt that she exploited and corrupted the Tang family's great accomplishments over the years, and that she wasn't worthy to have a monument stone, but they were scared that her party would oppose strongly and violently, so having a wordless tablet was a neutral move. The last explanation is she wasn't sure what identity she should use to build her own monument stone, so as an emperor or the queen of Li Zhi, having a wordless one was the most appropriate way. Overall, we introduced the history background of wordless tablet. Then, following an introduction of Wu Zetian, the last part is about different perspectives from different groups of people. That's all. Thanks for your attention.